Welcome back to the Vault with Wayne Gorman. So today I thought I'd do something a little bit different. And as I always say, my videos aren't scripted, they're not edited, it is what it is. So on my bookshelf in my bedroom, I've just pulled a book off. I'll be honest with you, I haven't read it from front to back, but I just want to pick up on a few things in this book. And why they may not be helpful. So you'll have to forgive me because I'm still not well. I've been in bed for 2 days, so you could argue, should I be doing a video? Well, my answer to that is yes. I'm still being productive and it might not be polished, but there we go. It is what it is. So this is the book. I don't know whether anybody's ever seen that. The Furious Method by Tyson Fury. I think everybody knows who he is. So I'm not on my channel here to slag other people off, although I've made jokes about that. But I am here to be informative. So if I've got an observation and I see something and it's a character that may well have influence on others and I could see how that might not benefit others, then I'm going to say something because I'm all about helping people. So you got some lovely pictures when you first open the book of Tyson putting down Mr. Wilder. Got to get that in there, haven't you? As an opening little gambit. So we get into it anyway. So it says warning sensitive content in the book. And if you have been affected by mental health problems and have experienced or are experiencing suicidal thoughts, please get professional help immediately. That's not a bad shout. What professional help looks like is another matter. So a list of mental health resources are available at the end of this book. I mean, that's a good thing that he's put that at the start of his book. It says this book is based on personal experiences and learnings, and I hope you may find some of my approaches useful. But what worked for me will not work for everyone, and I am not an expert. Okay, right. So there's a but on the first page. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm suffering with my mental health and I want to go out and spend my money on a book that I believe is going to benefit me, I don't want to be reading that on the first page. But what worked for me will not work for everyone. Why? You know? So this is what I would say or call a disclaimer. So a disclaimer is basically saying, here's a book, I'd like to charge you for it, buy it, but it might not be of any use. It's not taking responsibility for the content of your own book because he's stating it as a fact. It says it will not work for everyone, right? So there's a huge amount of doubt straight away. In fact, you could look at it that there is no doubt that it isn't going to work for everyone. So basically he's saying it's hit and miss whether you'll get anything out of my book. Now, the way I look at this is you don't want hit and miss. You want hit. So you want to know that what you're going to is going to be of benefit. Otherwise, what's the point? So Disclaimers, do I agree with them? Yes and no. So it does say, please consult your GP before changing, stopping or starting any medical treatment, which again, a GP is going to be able to prescribe medication, whereas he's not. Neither would I be able to. It's not like you can come to me and I can say, here's the correct SSRI or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor or antidepressant, whatever you want to call them, and this is going to work for you. But even when you go to the doctors and you get antidepressants, if you've ever taken them, then you'll know that they do turn around and say to you, well, we'll trial you on this one, and if it doesn't work, come back to us, or it could take 4 to 6 weeks to kick in, or whatever the time frame is. And by that time, you could be pulling your hair out because it's not agreeing with you, and you're doubting yourself even when you're feeling sicker because the doctor's told you to carry on taking it. It's not great, but that's what happens. So what I want to cover here is why this might not be useful. If you're suffering with your mental health, you'll hear me talking about doubt a lot. It's one of the things that never seems to get addressed. I've never known anybody, whether it's a psychologist, a clinician, a doctor, if I've ever gone to see anybody to say, you're suffering with doubt, Mr. Gorman, or you're suffering with low self-esteem. What they normally do is say, you've either got anxiety or depression, and we're not quite sure which one it is, but here's a pill that'll treat both. So doubt never gets spoken about, and yet it's the most damaging mental hindrance in my experience, which I'm sure you'll find if you've suffered with it in yours as well. So the author and publisher disclaim, as far as the law allows, any liability arising directly or indirectly from the use or misuse of the information contained in this book. So there we go. It is a disclaimer. I hadn't read that far down, but there it is there in black and white. What it's saying there really is, the part that I agree with is, if you give somebody information and they don't take it in the way that it was intended and they do themselves harm, then the individual that gave the information, wrote the book in this case, is not responsible, because you're not responsible for that person's actions. However, if it comes to a solid piece of information that can help everybody, then there's no need for a disclaimer. So an example would be, if I was to see someone starving to death and I was to give them food, that food is going to help them. So whether I like it or not, and whether you like it or not, taking aside any digestive issues or anything like that, let's just say there's a normal functioning stomach there and everything like that, and under normal circumstances that individual can eat and their body will do what it needs to do to aid and repair. Then if you give someone food when they're hungry, it will alleviate hunger, and that's a fact. And it's the same for everybody that has a normal functioning stomach, right? And their body does what you'd expect it to do. Now, you might not like the taste of the food that I'd give you, but it's gonna do the job. So that's where I would say, if you've been given a piece of information that's of a good source, which means it's gonna work in the same way that food will displace hunger, then that information is the same for everyone. So it's not a case of, it might work for me, but it won't work for everyone. It will work for everyone. Food will work for everyone that has a normal functioning stomach. If you want to use the word normal. I mean, in this case, I think it's relevant that you'd see it as an abnormality if somebody ate food and the body didn't do what you'd expect it to do. In the majority of cases, you eat food and it displaces hunger. And that's what I'm gonna make a point of here, is that if you're given information from a book that is going to be useful, it will always do the same job. So in other words, the truth is the same for everyone, right? So if you've got a disclaimer in a book, piece of literature, the only thing I will say that it has any relevance in any way, shape or form is that the author of the book or the literature is not responsible for how people may interpret or use it at a later date. So a kitchen knife that's designed by a manufacturer to chop food in the kitchen isn't designed for a mass murder, for example. People use them to commit crimes. That's not what the manufacturer intended for that knife to be used for. It's to use in the kitchen. So in that sense, what you could say then is the person that designed the knife responsible for that death? And the answer is no, because they didn't design it for that purpose. Somebody else took it upon themselves to use it in that way and cause damage to another human being or animal, whatever the case may be. So at the end of the day, disclaimers can be misleading. That's the point of this video, that if you want my opinion on it, if you see that in a book and you want certainty, then you're almost definitely not going to get it out of that material. So today, disclaimers, do we need them? I don't think so. When it comes to your mental health, you want certainty. You want things that you know that are going to work, that are tried and tested, ways of thinking. And yeah, so I like watching him. Got no issue with him. I don't want him to beat me up, obviously. But don't agree with your disclaimer. I'm awfully sorry about that. And anybody else that wrote a disclaimer in a book saying this might work for me, but it's not going to work for everyone. Nah. So over and out for now. Disclaimers, do we need them?